Hello, and welcome back to the Outdoor Minimalist podcast. I'm your host, Meg Carney, an outdoor and environmental writer and author of the book Outdoor Minimalist: Waste Less Hiking, Camping, and Backpacking. The Outdoor Minimalist podcast has a goal to give listeners actionable ways to waste less hiking, camping, backpacking, and more during every step of their process. Your impact outdoors starts long before you hit the trail and goes beyond leave no trace ethics. You'll learn how to identify sustainable outdoor brands, how to ask hard questions regarding sustainability, and begin to shift and evolve your mindset to integrate minimalism into all of your outdoor pursuits. In episode 81 of the Outdoor Minimalist podcast, I had the pleasure of chatting with Chris Christie about adventure, finding your passions, and what defines us as humans during every phase of our lives. I really enjoyed my conversation with Chris and all of his insights about building character and living life in such a way that we ensure we have no regrets as we grow old. After being an outdoor industry leader for over 30 years, Chris has decided to combine his passions for being outside and making a positive impact on this world. Enter 2023 and The Mill, a new social media platform that inspires people to live their adventures today and empowers them to make it happen. To kick off the new platform, Chris is embarking on a character walk and walking from North Carolina to Maine with the goal of raising money and awareness for 7 amazing animal rescues along the route as part of the character giving program within his platform. Adventuring plans on your calendar? Remember to grab your Lava Linens travel towel on your way out the door. Founded by a mother-daughter team, Lava Linens crafts durable, luxurious travel towels as a more sustainable and better performing alternative to microfiber and cotton towels. Powered by flax and hemp, they're designed to be by your side for years to come. Use the code Outdoor Minimalist for 15% off your next order. So welcome to the show, Chris. I am glad that we were able to connect and that you're willing to come on and tell your story. But before we jump into today's topic, I always ask my guests basically how they fell in love with outdoor recreation and how it currently fits into their life.
Oh, it's a great question. First of all, I'm so excited to be here. I'm really, really excited. So I think like a lot of people in the outdoor world, I was, when I had the question earlier, I was thinking, where did I get started? And boy, it brought back some memories of my dad and I fly fishing when I was about 3 or 4 years old. And I remember a memory that I hadn't really remembered for a long time of catching my first trout up in northern Maine. And that's really, I think, I'll credit my dad for getting me started kind of in the outdoor world because it was fishing and he was a ski patrol. So we chased him around to the ski areas and we were always skiing. And then as it just grew, I became an athlete and I was a mountain biker and a skier and golf. And so I kind of got into the competitive side of the outdoor industry. And then post school, I got into kind of a different version of the outdoor industry and got into, I was a sales rep for a ski company. I've run a number of retail sporting goods stores. I owned a bike shop of my own. I managed a very large adventure park in Long Island, New York. And then post that, moved into now I own a company called Outdoor Industry Consultants. So I do consulting now in the outdoor world. And it's funny how I've transitioned from, I think more when I was growing up or my son was growing up, we were adrenaline focused and everything was based on that for outdoor world. And now I very much enjoy hiking and backpacking and camping and kind of the slower things and appreciating the outdoor world a little bit more. So I think I've seen the spectrum. Well, so far anyway. I think there's a lot more to see, but
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it's been like a really integral part of your life since you were young. And so did you always know you wanted to work in the outdoor industry because you liked the sport so much, or how did you enter that scene?
Yeah, no, always I don't think there was even an alternative for me to look somewhere else. It was always going to be the outdoor world, even to the point of when my son was starting to participate in sports. I remember having the conversation because I think he was looking at a different sport. And I said, here's the deal. Dad's going to support you in every sport you do, but just understand that dad is not going to sit inside to watch you play. So choose your sports wisely. And fortunately enough, he chose all the outdoor sports and things. But yeah, no, just being outside is just so important for so many reasons for me that no, I think I knew as early as, middle school, something that I was going to stay in the outdoor world in some form or fashion. And I'm excited that my son is kind of following in my footsteps as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, how did the transition then happen from you, like you said, like more so like tracing those adrenaline type sports, and then that kind of like morphed into your consulting career and then the launch of Character Mill? So, can you just talk about that transition and maybe did life circumstances influence that, or how did that happen?
Yeah. Yeah. No, they absolutely did. 100%. Staying in the outdoor world and being in that, and my son getting a little older and me getting a little older, I don't bounce off the ground quite like I used to. So I think I was kind of forced to slow down, and life life dealt its obstacles. I don't ever say their blows or anything like that, because I have a dear friend that's a coach that I work with every now and then. And, his big thing is life happens for us. It doesn't happen to us. So the obstacles that did come in, I didn't really take him as I took them as opportunities to experience different things. And so when I went from, I was in the golf world, a PGA golf professional for about 15 years, and then literally visited a bike shop in Florida, and just came back and went, I love the cycling community. I had always been a mountain biker myself, but I just like, I love people walk in and they were happy and everything was great. And so I'm like, that's who I want to be with. So that's how I opened the bike shop. And then the bike shop just kind of led into other areas and life circumstances, and just kind of keeping my eyes open and for opportunities, and then just grasping those opportunities when I had a chance to do so.
Interesting. Yeah, it feels like, or from the outside looking in, I guess it seems kind of like a natural progression. Like your mindset and outlook on life is very positive, it seems. Like there's an opportunity that comes up and you're like, yeah, this fits and this works, and you're willing to try it out, which I think is really cool.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I think that's exciting. I think that's a little bit who I am. On a business side, I don't know if I wouldn't say it's one of my positive things, because then I seem to kind of start to achieve a little success in a certain field. And then I go, oh, there's a shiny object. And that's a field in the outdoor world that I haven't gone after and I don't know a whole lot about. So let's go try it there. And so
there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so I've experienced a lot of different aspects of the outdoor industry, which has been fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it is kind of nice to have that like wonder about new things, like even as we grow older and age and stuff like that. And I think that has kind of helped me continue to fall in love with new things and also appreciate old things a little bit different way.
Absolutely.
So do you mind explaining what the Character Mill is then? Because I know that, is that kind of like an offshoot from your consulting business, or how does that fit into everything?
Yeah, the consulting business started when I left the adventure park at Long Island, and I was in the zip line adventure park world. And it started because I had a number of friends that were still in the outdoor industry, and they just kind of pushed me into saying, you really should be doing some kind of consulting or something like that. So I started that as a way of, because it's a passion. I love helping companies grow, especially outdoor brands grow. Of course, then I started it, and then of course COVID hit. So that is more of a kind of a little, it's a fun thing. It's a passion thing for me. It's not really, it's been tabled for the most part. The Character Mill, for all intents and purposes, I think is my life's work. It's a combination of the outdoor world and trying to motivate and get people outside with my passion for just being outside myself. So the Character Mill started probably 15, maybe 20 years ago when I actually had the bike shop. I knew there was something that I wanted to do. I just wasn't sure what that vehicle was going to be. I needed to do something that was outdoor related, but I could also help people kind of live their life to the fullest. And I didn't know what that was. And it was about 2017 when it hit me and it really started to form. I launched it then in 2019. It didn't launch like I expected. I made all of the rookie business mistakes that someone makes when you launch it. And so pulled it subsequently in 2020, entered a massive state of depression. And then it just kind of kept bubbling like a little volcano. It just kind of kept rising to the top, and it kept coming into my thought train. And so I really kind of cleaned it up and honed it down to what I thought I could do, and recreated all the business and marketing plans with it. And so now we're getting ready to to relaunch. And it is essentially, I think, my life's work for a number of reasons.
Yeah, interesting. I definitely identify with making a lot of mistakes. It's a great way to learn, like really just like go into the fire and see what happens. um, so would you mind just explaining kind of like an elevator pitch or like what the mission of the character mill is for listeners so they know exactly what it is?
Yeah, the character mill is, well, the problem that we're fixing, any good business has to solve a problem. And the problem that I'm addressing with this is a stat that I read a number of years ago, and it said 86% of people in nursing homes share something in common, and that is they all have regrets of things they didn't do during their life. And having lost my mom 10 years ago, losing my older brother, now it's been 5 years ago, that stat really hit me. And I said, okay, well, I want to eliminate, or at the very least, reduce that stat and try to inspire people to go out and live those adventures today. Don't wait. So when they get to nursing home age, they're in there sharing memories, not regrets. And so we started doing some research, and I kind of kept figuring out, okay, what was holding people back? And we came to 3 areas, which were financial reasons. People just maybe couldn't afford to go on those adventures. Inspirational, that they didn't really have anyone to go on those adventures with, or informational. They didn't really know how to get started or how to pursue those adventures. And so the character mill was formed with the idea of inspiring people to go live those adventures today, and then empowering them by reducing the barriers of entry for people to go live those adventures. And so that's kind of the premise of the character mill.
Yeah, I like that backstory a lot because I do think, yeah, sometimes you get to retirement age or whatever, and you're like, what happened to my life? And you weren't really living it for yourself necessarily. You're just kind of like going through the motions. So very important mission, it sounds like. And
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and it was interesting because there's been a number of people that I have been fortunate enough to kind of call on my creative team. And one of them is a gentleman pursuing his MBA down at the University of Alabama. And he commented, after we spoke for a number of times, he called me and just said, on a whim, he was speaking with his grandmother, who I think was like 93, and had never told her anything about what we had been talking about. And she, in the process of having a communication, he commented that she just started kind of going on the regrets of things that she didn't do during her life. And he said, Chris, for no other reason, I want to make sure this project goes, because I don't ever want to hear that stuff out of my grandmother or someone else's grandmother, for that matter.
Exactly. Yeah, it is kind of hard to think about. And even like, I'm sure like I'm only 30, but I feel like looking back on my life, I'm kind of like, there were like phases and periods where you do have regrets. And so I think that to an extent it's inevitable, but there's always a chance to kind of like evolve and change and make sure that you're able to really like enhance the life that you do have left. So I love it. I love the character mill mission.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
And when I was doing a little bit of research for this episode, and after we chatted initially, I did look at the website, and on the homepage, there is one question, and it says, what defines who you are? So I am curious how you answer that.
What defines who I am is, I think, one of the most difficult questions that we could ever ask ourselves. And I'm in a constant state of developing that answer, which I kind of hope everybody is. I like to think of myself, and I like to live by the standards that I'm that empathetic person, and that I try to understand what other people are doing. But yet I like to challenge myself, and I like to challenge other people. One thing that I'm probably not as good at as I'd like to be, I love the quote of something to the effect of, live today like you're learning something new, or something like that. Like, be bold enough to go learn something new. And that's certainly something that I could be better at, which is partially why, my big project that I have coming up here in another couple of weeks is so important to me. But I think it's ever changing, because if you had asked me that question 10 years ago, prior to really getting this going, I would have given you a completely different answer. And so I don't know if that's a fluid answer, but for right now, I think empathy and feel like being challenged, and I'm okay with challenging other people and inspiring other people and being inspired and being open enough to be inspired by other people, those types of things. So it's it's a never evolving answer, I think, for anyone.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that your answer is maybe a little bit unique, especially for Americans, because I feel like a lot of times when we are asked, like, oh, tell me about yourself, or like anything in that capacity, which, like, what defines who you are, I think is like in that capacity. Like a lot of times we'll revert to talking about our job. And that's not necessarily like, it really doesn't really have anything to, it does have things to do with you, but it's not like the core of your being. And so I appreciate your answer. It
Well,
seems more genuine.
yeah, thanks. And I think the important thing is that answer, because that answer has to come from within. I think that's such an important designation, that answer needs to be answered from within inside you. The question is not how do other people define you? It's what defines you. And that's an internal question. So I'm, with the other coaching that I do through one of my other projects, that's something I work really hard with people on, is, ultimately the question of who you are has to come from within. And unfortunately, our ego kind of works sometimes where we get concerned with what other people are defining us as, and that we let that then define who we are. And so I think it's a really important designation. That's why it's a difficult question for people, because it does involve kind of some internal communication with yourself and stuff. But that's a real important designation, is that question is purely an internal question.
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely, it has been a question that I have been grappling with a lot more in the last like 6 months or so, because I do fall into the trap of like, what do other people think of what I'm doing? Or like you just kind of like get into that rumination, and then you have to take a step back and be like, okay, but how do I feel about this? And like, what do I think about myself?
Yeah,
Making it more about yourself.
That gets easier when you get to be my age.
Oh, perfect. I can't wait. So let's talk a little bit about character then, because like the definition of who you are, I feel like aligns a lot with character, and it's in the name Characterville. So obviously it's an important theme across all of your projects. So how do you think our character as a person is developed and influenced over the course of our lives?
I think one of the biggest things, which is why the being outdoors is so important. I think we are defined. One of the other quotes in the website is that every opportunity, every second of the day, every time during the day is an opportunity for a new experience. And I think experiences and adventures are what help shape our character, because it allows us to learn. It allows us to realize, oh, I can do that, or I can be empathetic. I can be hiking on a trail and all of a sudden and while I might be in a super bad mood, I might encounter someone that is struggling, and instantly I can take it out of my own being, and I can be empathetic, and I can be helpful, and I can assist that person. And so the more times we put ourselves in situations that perhaps I almost hate the word comfort zone, but the more times we can take ourselves out of that situation, I think that's when our character is developed. And for me, the sub reason for character is, I truly believe that most people are innately good, and we all come from a great place. It's the outside, when we allow outside influences to kind of get in our way, which begins to affect our thinking. But the more our character grows and the more we get to know who we are, then ultimately that's where I think true change can really begin to occur in the world, is when we start to take time and really understand kind of who we are and that type of thing. So yeah, character is it is the word.
It is the word.
Yeah.
You already kind of touched on this a little bit just a moment ago, but when we're thinking about outdoor activities or like adventures, it seems like you're getting out of your comfort zone. Maybe have a higher threshold for adversity, those types of things. But are there other ways that just like being outdoors, even if it's not a high adrenaline sport, can potentially change your character in a positive way?
I think it almost equally, if not more than what we talked about earlier, kind of doing those other outside activities. I think just being outside, I think, has so many, of course, physical benefits. Anytime I think you're in touch with Mother Earth, that's why very seldom I wear shoes only because society tells me I need to wear shoes in certain areas, but otherwise, if I'm outside, I just love being in touch with the earth. But also the mental side, I think there's that clarity and the ability to have that balance and those types of things. And, for us, when I talk about adventures, for me, an adventure is embarking on something where the outcome is uncertain. And for us, that it could be hiking, it could be mountain biking, it could be learning to ballroom dance in your living room, which for me is absolutely an adventure where the outcome is uncertain. So I think, yeah, the experience of being outside can be adrenaline filled, it can be meditation, it can be gardening, it can be really anything. It doesn't necessarily even have to get you out of your comfort zone. But one of the things that I really enjoy in the logos that we have is that there's a circle. And the idea is that people get inspired to try something regardless of what that is. We make it easier for them to participate in that. And then they take the time, and the couple missing spots is that they take the time to reflect. How did that make me feel? Did it make me feel more balanced? Did it make me feel more grounded? Do I feel more confident? Do I have more confidence in myself? Did I learn something new? And then come back and then share that. Because equally as important as the ability to do that experience or adventure, when you share that and inspire someone else, and that person then says, you know what, because of what you did, I went out and tried it, and oh my gosh, I can't believe how I feel. That feeling that you get is equally as good as anything else. So yeah, it really doesn't have to be adrenaline. It could be something as simple as I was talking with someone the other day who she was saying that she doesn't like to do those things. And I said, well, do you like feeling the sunshine on your face? And she said, well, yeah, who doesn't? I said, well, then start with 5 minutes in your front deck and just sitting on your lawn facing the sun. Just do that 5 minutes a day. And then let's see how the momentum goes from there. So it really, an experience or adventure can be almost anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, like everyone is going to kind of define the adventure and like getting out of their comfort zone in their own way. And it really reminds me, I had an episode last year sometime with Amy Bouchatz from Humans Outside. She has a podcast too. And she talked about building a daily outdoor habit. So like the way that you were explaining that, like really reminded me of a lot of what she had to say, because it was essentially starting where you're at. And if it is just sitting outside for 5 minutes, then you can kind of like build on that experience. And so since everyone is going to be at a different starting point, they'll have different barriers to entry and different interests in general, because they're all different people. How can people get started and start to integrate these types of activities into their life more?
Yeah, well, I think one of the ways, as a selfish plug, is to download the new project with the mill, because that's essentially what we address with the mill, is that we are eliminating a lot of the algorithms and things like that so people can see a social feed that brings in and has new ideas of different things to do. And that's what I really love about it, is that while I might like skiing and mountain biking and this, I don't want my feed saturated with that. I want to be in an app or a social platform where I look at something and go, oh, I've never thought of doing that. I want to try that. And so I think that's when we start to experience that and people start to share more. We are oftentimes a product of our environment. And so I think the first thing that people can do is be open to learning and trying new things. And I think when we're open to things, I was watching something the other day and I went, I'm surprised. I used to play a lot of Frisbee and I used to play a lot of golf, but I've never done disc golf. So, but I saw something the other day and I'm like, oh, I totally want to go try that. And so I think it's being open and putting yourself in an environment where you are receiving new ideas and new thoughts and to try new things.
Yeah, and it feels like, just the way that you've been explaining the platform, that it's a good place to potentially build community and like be less, I don't want to say afraid, but I can't think of a different word right now, but like less nervous about kind of putting yourself out there and trying something new. Because as open as we are about things, like no matter who you are, I feel like there is a point where you're kind of like, I don't really want to be bad at things, because like you want to keep doing the things that like you're excelling at. And So it's a good way to kind of get that support when you're starting something new. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, 100, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I like to look at it as, instead of being not scared, because sometimes our brains don't necessarily understand some of those additives of, the example I used to do when I was teaching golf was, don't hit it in the water. And what's the first thing that pops into your head is, of course, is the water. So if we think about being less scared, the brain doesn't necessarily see the word less, it sees scared. So we want to try to create something where people are more inspired to learn things and not worry about whether or not being scared, because ultimately everyone that most likely is in the app is scared doing something at some point. So yeah, we just want to let people focus on, let's just be inspired and to try and new things and be open to new things.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm going to ask you a question that has kind of just been like flowing through a lot of your conversation, which is, how do you, in your current phase of life, define adventure?
So as I think I mentioned earlier, for me, an adventure is embarking on something where the outcome is uncertain. And I think that's so important because and I look at it, like I said, it could be ballroom dancing, it could be learning to cook French cuisine. It could be doing something that you haven't done where you feel like you have experienced something new. An adventure could be climbing Mount Everest. So every person, as you mentioned earlier, every person's a little bit different. Everyone has different ideas and things that will make them happy, whatever that adventure is. It doesn't necessarily, I know oftentimes when people think adventure, they think it has to be adrenaline and climbing and jumping, and for us, it doesn't. That's not necessarily what the definition of adventure is. Although I think if you look it up, it does say it is traditionally related to outdoor activities of some kind. But so it's for us, it's just trying new things and being open to new things. And then of course we want people to do it outside, because I just realized that there's so much benefit to being outside and doing those things in a responsible way outside. And so I think the two kind of tie in. But yeah, for us, it's just trying new things. And it's as simple as, like I said, it could be just as simple as learning a new language or learning to skydive.
Yeah, I do really like that not all of your examples are specifically outdoor related, because I think they're, like you're saying, there's adventure in a lot of new experiences and and also finding new communities and people that you identify with. I think there's a lot to be said there. And I'm also curious, because I know you have another project coming up in a couple of weeks, or that you're embarking on an adventure of your own called the Character Walk, that is very much related to this, and then your new podcast. So if you don't mind explaining what exactly the Character Walk is and how you came up with the idea to begin with.
Sure. Within the mill, the app, the new platform, everything is character based. So there's the Character Cafe, there are character partners, there's Character Talks, which is the podcast, and then there's character giving. And character giving is because it's a subscription based app. The idea is that we want to give back. So we want to go out and experience new things. I'm going to stop. You can't hear my phone, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay, it just happens to be going through my headphones. That's why.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I couldn't hear.
I just want to make sure you couldn't hear it either. So yeah, so within the app, there's certain things like character giving, and in character giving, the idea is that while we're part of a really cool community and hopefully we're being inspired and empowered to go live our adventures, I think there's a lot of power and strengthening that occurs when we do something for others. And because it's a subscription-based app, we're going to commit a dedicated portion every month of every subscription to support nonprofits that we believe just make the world better. And so for 2023, our focus is animal rescues, because my rescues that I've had have more than once saved my life in many different situations. And I just happen to have an incredible adventure pup with me now, Kylie. And so it was literally, I'd love to say it was a wild moment of something, but it literally was in the shower in March of 22 when I got out and I went, I've thought of doing some kind of long trekking, but I'm like, it hit me. I'm like, I'm going to retrace Kylie's steps from coming to where she was in North Carolina to us in New England. I'm going to retrace her steps because she's so important in my life and in our life, my son's life now. So I'm like, I'm going to do it. And it just came easy that it was character walk because everything is character based for us within there, and just started doing it. And like, I think within a month, we had partnered with 7 different animal rescues. We started with Caring Hearts for Canines in Southern Pines, North Carolina, which is where Kylie came from. Kylie's named actually after the woman that rescued her for us. So we named her after Kylie. She came with the name Cookie, which was not going to make it over in our household. And then we're going to end here in Camden, Maine at Paws, which is where I rescued my cat from Teak. Unfortunately, Teak went out in November and didn't return. And he was older, but he was also one of my adventure animals. So yeah, it was just kind of this to kick off the character giving side. So we're going to hopefully raise a boatload of money for these 7 different animal rescues during this April through June walk. It's just over 1,100 miles. And then starting in July, we will start partnering with different animal rescues each month. So July, August, all the way through the year, partnering with different rescues to try to make a difference in their lives. Because I think so many people, and I think you've had a number of episodes talking about dogs and animals out doing adventures. So, and I think most of them are rescues, and those people that work at the rescues are sometimes, I think, is a selfless job, and they do such amazing work that I just felt like I needed to give back in some way. And this was the way Kylie and I came up with.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to following along with your journey. So how can listeners learn more about the character walk and kind of follow along, maybe even donate, and also subscribe to the Character Mill?
Great. Yeah, so we're on all the other platforms. Right now we're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Once the walk starts, and of course we have the website, the Character Mill, which is where people, if they do want to donate, they can donate to the animal rescues. We do have a little button on there if people want to support just Kylie and I, because there are some expenses associated with the walk, but primarily we want to focus on the rescues, and that's through the website. And then, like I said, you can follow us on all the other social media platforms, and probably around middle of April to the end of April is when the mill will actually launch. I was hoping to start it when we launched for the walk, but there's a couple of things that I really wanted to tweak to make sure it was right before we did it. And so, yeah, you'll see a lot of posts on all the platforms. You'll see live feeds on Facebook and TikTok, and then there'll be videos within the mill app itself, and that's where the really great content will be is within the app. That's where I'll kind of probably share some things that I don't necessarily share on the other platforms and those types of things. So we're going to try to make it as easy as we can, and we're walking on a lot of people ask if we're walking along like the AT, those types of things, and our focus is to walk on as many roads as we possibly can safely, because I'm going to be pushing a jogger. So when I get tired, Kylie can pull me. Kidding, of course. But to carry our stuff, because we do plan on being self-sustained. We do plan on tenting and camping out most every night. But I want to be in front of as many people as I possibly can. I want to talk to people and share what we're doing and share the work of the rescues and share what the mission of the mill, the app is. And so, on all the platforms. And then once the mill app launches, they can download it. Of course, it'll be available both in the Apple Store and Google Store.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll be sure to share links to all of those things so people can check them out themselves. But with that, I'm really glad that you had the time to come on and share your experience and a little bit of inspiration today.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and I've enjoyed listening to a number of your podcasts already. So this was
thanks.
To be a part of it has been a lot of fun.
Thanks for listening. And if you like what you hear, let me know. Leave a review and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find us on Instagram at outdoor.minimalist.book or subscribe to our weekly newsletter at theoutdoorminimalist.com for even more updates, educational resources, and to help build an outdoor community with the shared goal to create a better outdoor space as we recreate.